So it was a big night of Champions League action. As we mentioned, Barcelona 4-0 winners. Arsenal 6-0 winners against Ludogorets. Bayern Munich, they won 4-1. We're going to go through all of that and also look ahead to tonight's matches in the Europa League. Manchester United versus Fenerbahçe. Inter Milan versus Southampton. The first time the Saints have faced a team from Italy's Serie A. And to go through all of this, I've got one of the best broadcasters in the business, talk radio host. You also know him from Sky News, paper reviews, and much, much more. Jonny Gould, welcome to Sportuccino.
Richard, you know how to butter me up and say the right things.
Exactly, and I mean every single word. You know, you're an experienced drummer, and it's great to have you on the show. So let's get straight into it. What I want to know from you firstly, Jonny, is thoughts on our poll today, because we've got Messi scoring a hat-trick last night. He's on 89 goals, Ronaldo on 95. Who do you think will end up being the all-time leading scorer in European football?
Well, as you say, Ronaldo has a 6-goal advantage. Wouldn't it be poetic if those two titans of the game, who just coincidentally have to have played their football at the same time in history, finished with identical records, that they both won the Champions League the same amount of times, and they both scored around a century of goals in the Champions League. The fact of the matter is, I made this little prediction a few years ago that even though Messi had won all those successive Ballon d'Ors over Ronaldo until a couple of years ago, it would be Ronaldo who would have the longer career. Apart from anything, Ronaldo is actually a little bit older, but he seems to be more of a specimen, more of a guy who's able to play a little bit longer, given the sort of dimensions of his body. But then again, Messi has come back under Luis Enrique in a way that he seemed to suffer under previous coaches in the aftermath of Pep Guardiola's disappearance from Barcelona to Bayern Munich. So I think that Ronaldo will pip Messi by about 3 or 4 goals.
Well, I think you're right there. If you look at Ronaldo, he's still so quick. He's not lost any of his pace like some players do in their 30s. I wonder, though, if there's just a psychological advantage right now with Ronaldo because he won that European Championships with Portugal. I think that meant so much to him, not only because what it did for Portugal, but also perhaps for what it does in his battle against Messi.
Do you know what, Richard? I mean, that's a very apposite point, because let's not forget 2 years ago, Argentina missed their chance of glory forever by beating Germany in the Maracanã Stadium in Brazil. That really would have been a way for Argentina to have won the World Cup over Brazil forever in their backyard. They didn't take that opportunity. Messi is at the ideal age at the time, age 27, to achieve that. He missed that opportunity. And Ronaldo achieved with Portugal what none of us could have foreseen, a marvellous performance. And in the sense that they were mugged 12 years ago in Lisbon against Greece as host nation, they made up for it by beating the host nation France in exactly the same way. The only thing I would say is, and you're right here to Richard to mention the fact that he is such an athlete and he performs at such a high level all the time, is that he picked up his first kind of injury, didn't he, about 3 months ago? And I always remember when Thierry Henry picked up a side strain at Arsenal in his final year at the Emirates. It was the beginning of the sign that he wasn't quite at the highest level. And Arsene Wenger understood that. He seems to understand when to sell players, Wenger. He sold it to Barcelona for £16.5 million. And although Henry won a Champions League winning medal, he was not quite the footballer he was at Arsenal. I'm looking out for Ronaldo. I'm just wondering whether he can continue to perform at Champions League level in the same way as he's done in previous seasons. I hope I'm proved wrong, but injuries are always a sign that things aren't 100% in your nut.
It'll be interesting if he can prolong his career in a way that kind of Giggs did, as maybe try and change his position, maybe just change exactly how effective he is. Let's talk a little bit about last night's game. Guardiola decided to drop Sergio Aguero. He didn't play him. He went for that kind of false nine, try and pack the midfield. They were 1-0 down when Claudio Bravo got sent off for Man City on his return to the Nou Camp. Was that the turning point, or did he get the tactics wrong?
I think he got it all wrong. And really, when it comes to that elite level of the Champions League, Manchester City can't hold a candle to Barcelona. Man City are a new product, a new project. at the very highest level. Barcelona, with Real Madrid, are the persistent champions of Europe. They have the nucleus of a side who never seem to grow old, who've been playing together for 10 long, memorable and glorious years. You can't just put up a tent and hope to produce a peer group that lines up against Barcelona. So whether it had been Bravo or Caballero or even Joe Hart in the Manchester City goal, I'm afraid that was not the difference. The difference was the 11 men and the Barcelona school, and even Pep Guardiola as the trainer for Barcelona before he moved on to Bayern Munich.
So that was the fourth game in a row where Man City haven't won. Now, they've also got a big game next week in the League Cup against Manchester United, Manchester Derby. So quite a lot of pressure on Pep Guardiola right now. But do you expect them to go through? Obviously, Borussia Mönchengladbach, they got a big win away at Celtic last night, 2-0 away. Could City be in danger of not qualifying for the next round?
Absolutely. Mönchengladbach come from the Bundesliga. You never underestimate teams from that particular level. Really, they are, with Spain and England, the two great leagues, the three great leagues in European football. And it would be quite a kick in the teeth, wouldn't it, for Manchester City not to go through to the next stage. I take them to do it because they have to. They can't sack Pep Guardiola. He is the great saviour. There wasn't a great deal wrong with Pellegrini, but that's life, isn't it, in the highest level of coaching around European football. City should make it through, but again, they are well short. They're not even the champions of England, let's not forget that. They've got to get their football right on an elite level in this country before they can be anything like Real Madrid, Bayern Munich or Barcelona's peers. They've got a long, long way to go. And the fact that the Champions League has been around, since about 1993, and the depth of constant investment, both in players and indeed in youth coaching, demonstrates that if you qualify as a champion year after year, as the likes of Barca and Real and United used to do before Fergie left, shows that there is a massive gulf between the elite of the Champions League and the rest. And unfortunately, the rest includes Man City.
So Arsenal were big 6-0 winners against Ludogorets. Mesut Ozil with a hat-trick. Fantastic volley for the third goal there. Did we learn anything about Arsenal yesterday, or was it always going to be a walkover?
I don't think we learnt anything. I think we were reminded what a fantastic manager Arsene Wenger is. And everyone wants to kick him out, but beware. Not everyone wants to kick him out. I think that's a harsh thing. But there's a massive body of Arsenal fans who are disgruntled with the fact that Arsenal don't win the league every year. But let's not forget, Arsenal, when he started, had a smaller stadium than Aston Villa. They finished above the league, above Villa in the league on a regular basis, and then Villa finished above them on an alternate year basis. He has built that football club through clever signings, through a philosophy which has constantly and consistently left Arsenal in a top four position more than any other club. They have outshone Manchester United in terms of consistent qualification, and they haven't lost since that opening day defeat to Liverpool. I always remember Arsene Wenger being a bit angry in a news conference about 6 years ago where he said, "I will be proved right in the end." And you know what? He might be. I do take him to give it one more chance of winning the big pot, the Champions League. I do give him a chance of doing that. He could do it every season. The team is selected for it. And the fact that they always qualify, 18 successive seasons, he can do that. And I think they could win the league this year. They really could. I mean, it is a fantastically open league. And as City showed last night, and as they've shown in the league a couple of times this season, they're a bit vulnerable, as are United. I do like Arsenal, and I do love Arsene Wenger as a neutral.
And I think Ozil's getting better and better at Arsenal. He had a first few dodgy months, you'd say, when he first got there, but last season he got all those assists. He's now scoring goals this season. I think you're right, they could be quite dangerous. All right, Johnny, tonight you mentioned Manchester United. They're facing Fenerbahçe. They haven't had the best of results recently. They got that 0-0 boring draw with Liverpool on Monday. He's not likely to play his strongest players against Fenerbahçe tonight. But what have you made of Mourinho at Manchester United this season?
I've made that Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been his outstanding signing. He's been a bit unlucky with Mkhitaryan, who has been injured and been a little bit out of sorts. But let's talk about one of the unsung heroes. He's been an ever-present in the United team so far. He's played every game, and he is Valencia. He is playing very well. He is the least star-studded player in the lineup, but they are beginning to develop the nucleus of a team which I guess works between number 1 and number 6. It's the elite players at the front of the pitch that they need to look at closely. Pogba and Zlatan have a little bit of a frustration thing going on. Zlatan likes to lead the team in a sort of way similar to Cantona, but him and Pogba aren't really playing well together. Rooney, I think, is a much more important player than the United fans are willing to give him. They say he's old hat, they say he's over the hill. You know, when it comes to greatness, it isn't necessarily measured in the way that you measure Messi and Ronaldo. This guy has played well over 100 games for England. He's scored over 50 goals for his country. And despite the Goldfish Bowl at which he's played his football year after year after year, let's not forget, he's played 12 years in the Premier League from the age of 17. You know, if that's not a great footballer, I don't know what is. Rooney needs to be hugged and cuddled and caressed, I think, in order to maintain his top level in the autumn of his career.
Well, it'll be interesting if he plays tonight. Obviously, it was his first hat-trick was against Fenerbahçe back in 2004. And you wonder, sometimes those type of games can really kickstart a player's season. I look at Charlie Austin, that happened to him earlier this season. I look at Harry Kane. It was only when he started scoring in the Europa League that he got a real go at Spurs. All right, we've nearly run out of time with you, Jonny. Just before you go, I want to talk a bit about Villa, new manager. Are things changing at your club?
Yes. It's our first away win since August last year. We've had 3 managers since then, but that's not a big worry because we've had 2 prime ministers as well since the last time we won at Bournemouth. Steve Bruce has made a difference. In a way, I'm pleased that we backfired in his opening game against Wolves because it gave him a dress rehearsal of the real issues, the real problems at Aston Villa, which is that the team were immobile, that the team were making the same mistakes. He needed to understand who was there. He's handed out an olive branch to all sorts of players within the squad to say, hey, you could come back, even Gabby Agbonlahor, which is probably just a gesture rather than a reality. But Aston Villa are not too far away from getting promoted. Remember, the top 6 can get promoted in terms of playoff positions, which means that the eventual champion and the third promoted side could be 35 points apart. Villa can still get promoted, and he is just the man. It's a very good appointment. I'm very pleased.
November the 18th, Brighton versus Villa. I'll be there for that. Jonny, thank you so much for your time today. Just before you go, if you could give our viewers a reminder of where they can listen to your brand new show.
The brand new show is on Sundays from November the 20th. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, we're on every night, 7 till 10 on Talk Radio, Monday to Thursday. So if you are good enough to tune in tonight, I'll speak to you from 7 o'clock with news and current affairs to entertain you during the evening.
Brilliant. Jonny Gould, thank you for your expert analysis. Insightful as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. All the best.